So let's just jump right in with a pretty wild idea. What if the most important part of taking a photograph has absolutely nothing to do with the camera? Today, we're going to explore this really quiet, profound philosophy, one that suggests all the real work, the important stuff, happens way before you even think about pressing that shutter button. I mean, think about that for a second. That one idea, it kind of turns everything we think we know about photography on its head. So if the process doesn't start with the camera, where does it begin? Well, that's exactly the question we're going to unpack. Let's break this whole approach down step by step. Okay, so the very first step in this process, it's not about having a plan or some detailed shot list. Nope. It all starts with the simple act of arrival. It's about just showing up. Not like you're a photographer on a mission, but more like a quiet presence, ready to just be wherever you are. And that right there, that completely reframes what it means to be a photographer. You're not the director trying to force a scene to do what you want. Instead, you're just a quiet witness. You're almost part of a process that the land or the place is already going through all by itself. And this all comes from a place of real humility. You show up without any demands with this core understanding that the land owes you absolutely nothing. You just let the place, the weather, the light, you let it all be whatever it's going to be. And hey, if a photograph never happens, that's totally okay. So you might be thinking, all right, if I'm not there to take a picture, then what am I even doing there? And that brings us to the absolute heart of this whole philosophy, the practice of waiting. But the kind of waiting we're talking about here, it happens in a very specific kind of silence. And look, this isn't about finding a place with no noise. It's about quieting the noise inside your own head. You know, that constant demand for something to happen, that desperate need to get the shot. It's all about finding an inner stillness. And that's why returning to the same place over and over again is so important. The goal isn't to find something new every time, it's actually the opposite. It's about letting that familiarity just strip away all that frantic urgency, that need to get the shot. Because once your expectations start to fade, your attention is finally free to really sharpen, to actually notice what's truly there. So after all that patient waiting, after all that returning to the same spot, something really fundamental starts to shift. And it's not a change in the landscape. It's a change in how you see it. And this is where we get to the core of it all. See, most of us, we're out there searching. We're actively looking for something, right? We're driven by this expectation of what we hope to find. This philosophy, though, it's about seeing. It's about just passively noticing what's left after all our demands and expectations have just fallen away. It's a way of perceiving that's born from nothing more than quiet attention. And what's left behind, it's usually not something super dramatic. It's the simple essence of the place. All the distractions, all that visual noise, it just kind of fades into the background. And what remains are the most fundamental building blocks of the scene. Maybe just a simple line, a certain tone, a basic shape. And that's enough. So when that moment finally does arrive, when all these quiet little elements just perfectly align, the act of taking the picture itself is seen in a whole new light. It's not about capturing something, it's about acknowledging it. You can almost feel how this unfolds, you know? It's this really subtle sequence. First, just by being there patiently, the place itself seems to kind of stop resisting you. Then, the scene starts to simplify, boiling itself down to its core, and only then, only when this natural sense of balance is found, that's when the shutter is finally released. Yeah, and this is the really crucial part. Pressing that button, it's not some big, triumphant act of creation. It's more like a quiet nod. It's simply you acknowledging that this moment of balance, of harmony, has completed itself, and that your job there is done. And this whole philosophy of not interfering, it doesn't just stop when the picture is taken. Oh no. It actually extends all the way to how the final photograph is shown to other people. Think about the choice to work in black and white. It's a very deliberate act of making things quieter. As the idea goes, color can kind of shout for your attention, right? So by taking it away, the photograph can speak more softly, and that leaves a lot more room for you, the viewer, to have your own experience with it. And it's the exact same idea when it comes to titles. You know, a descriptive name can kind of box a photo in, telling you exactly what to think about it. But by using just a simple number instead, the photographer isn't defining it for you. They're just pointing you toward it, leaving it wide open for your own interpretation. Which brings us to the ultimate goal of this entire approach. Every single step, from showing up without a plan to how the final print is shown, it's all designed for one thing: not to add the photographer's meaning onto the world, but to respectfully get out of the way of the meaning that's already there. So all of this leaves us with a really powerful final thought to chew on. It's a question that asks us to think beyond just the final product, not just in photography, but in our own lives. It makes you wonder about the quality of your own attention, your patience, and the respect you have for the process itself. And that, well, that's a thought that goes way beyond just taking pictures.